and be Ryan the Great, and today we are talking the Philadelphia Eagles, guys. Now that I've had a few days to reflect on the Eagles' loss and, everything else that comes with it, we're going to be talking about what they should do for the future. So I have a few questions to pose. I'm going to answer those questions, more about coaching, free agency, the draft we're going to save for when it's draft season. I've seen some mock drafts that I do like, and I've seen some mock drafts that I don't like that make me want to throw my phone at the wall. But I will be talking about the draft and who I think the Eagles should select at their, 1920, something like that. But either wherever they select. So let's just get right into it. But before we get right into it, guys, make sure you guys subscribe with your post notifications on. Go subscribe to my brother Living Great Vlogs. Make sure you subscribe. Go subscribe to my second channel at Ryan the Cog Great. Make sure you guys go follow me on X at Ryan the Great RTG. Make sure you guys go follow me on TikTok at Ryan the Great RTG. Make sure you guys go listen to the latest edition of the Star 7 podcast. And make sure you guys go follow me on Twitch at Ryan the Great Podcast. And without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's go in the video and let's roll that intro. Won't be Ryan the Great. And today, it'll be intercepted! The defensive line. What the hell are you doing? No effort whatsoever when it came to the defense. Bat, he is 0 for 2 today. Come on, Stotty. Stop! 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 Red slam! First pitch! Bring him in! Braxton! Stop! Bring that! Yes! Oh, damn. 1, 2, 3. What? Alright, let's get into the video. So starting off, is it time for Nick Sirianni to go? Now that I've had a few days to reflect on it, I really don't know. Because on one hand, I can't speak. The Eagles locker room has completely lost faith in him, and it's clear that they don't respect him or just don't want him there. I'm not really sure what the issue is, but on the other hand, he is the winningest coach in Eagles history. While albeit he's been here 3 years, he's led us to a Super Bowl, and in all 3 years he's been here, there have been 3 playoff appearances, 2 first-round exits, 1 Super Bowl exit. But I don't really know, because once again, his coordinators are really, really bad. They had to demote one in the middle of the damn season because he was so terrible. The other should have been fired in the first 4 weeks. I feel like you have to give him 1 more year. You can't just fire him based off of a year that wasn't entirely his fault. Like, this isn't as egregious as the Chargers keeping Brandon Staley, because he definitely needed to go. It's not like Nick Sirianni blew a 30-point lead in the playoffs. I mean, there was a big downfall. I mean, there was a lot of arguments in the locker room, which is obviously his job to control. But then the secondary started playing terrible, and the defenses started playing terrible. That is the defensive coordinator's problem, because, Nick's more of an offensive type of guy. He was calling the plays on offense before he decided to hire Shane Steichen just a few years ago. So I don't really know. He's got to get control of the locker room, or else this next season's going to be the same as this season. We're just going to completely collapse. We'll win, but we're going to completely collapse at the end of the season. It's just no. So what happens if Nick Sirianni does get fired? Well, knowing Laurie, he won't fire him, because Laurie loves to hang on to his head coaches, unless your name is Doug Peterson. But knowing him, the guys that Laurie kind of really like a guy like Andy Reid, Chip Kelly, he really liked those guys. So he hung on to them. I'm sure he's going to hang on to Nick Sirianni. But in my opinion, there are a lot of good options out there. In my opinion, I don't really think that the Eagles are going to be interested in Jim Harbaugh. I'm not sure if he could really fit this team. At this point, the way the Eagles season is going, they need someone who can discipline this team. I think Bill Belichick might be a good option for that. I don't think the Eagles have no interest in him, though I think it would be a good thing to look into. You don't have to necessarily hire him, but I think that it would be something at least good to look into. My favorite head coaching candidate right now, and if he would take the job, is Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions. I think that he does a really good job of getting all of his pieces involved. He's very effective in his run game when you give him multiple backs, as seen this year with David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. He's able to make them hit the outside. He's able to let them hit that A gap. They can do many different things on the field. I think that he does that really well. His play action game is really effective because of that run game effect, which I think something the Eagles did well last year. It's just the fact that we didn't use the run game that much this year. Even though Swift was 5th in rushing yards, God knows why we barely used him. And he's able to have the quarterback get time in the pocket, which is something Jalen Hurts needs. After seeing that wild card game. And I believe he could use the RPO effectively based off the fact that his play action game works really, really well. That is something that's going to have to be reformed because if Jason Kelce does not return. Now, Jason Kelce's apparently not going. It could return, but we don't know. I think there are a lot of good coaches out there still. Like another one, Bobby Slowick, the offensive coordinator for the Houston Texans. He's done a really good job with C.J. Stroud. My only thing is that I think he's a little too new to it, in my opinion. And he kind of, and right now, he doesn't, I just don't know. I just don't like it right now. Like, maybe in a few years, but for right now, I feel like he needs a few more years under his belt. Mike Vrabel's always out there. He's got a relationship with A.J. Brown, so that could be something there. I'm not really going to talk about that too much. I don't think that's going to happen. I want to talk about the things that probably are going to happen, which I think Ben Johnson is a completely good hire. I think the Eagles should definitely look into it. Now, speaking of Jason Kelce just a few seconds ago, how is he going to impact the Eagles if he retires, which it looks like he will? I think it would be a shame to see him go. Obviously, the best center in the NFL going out of the NFL, obviously first team All-Pro this season. The Eagles definitely would have given him another contract, paying him the highest center in the NFL. But we're going to have to reform the RPO. I'm not entirely sure how you do that because Jason Kelce was just an anchor when it came to reforming the RPO. You're going to maybe he can help Cam Jurgens learn the ins and outs of it. I'm not entirely sure. But I would think Jurgens is going to replace him. Then we're going to have to find a new right guard. Maybe go out in the draft and get something. Maybe if you want to input Tyler Steen in there, if you think he's ready. I'm not entirely sure. If you want to try that, it could work. But now I want to go over the Eagles' free agency just a little bit. I'm not going to talk about who I think they should sign from other teams. I'm just going to talk about their free agents at the current moment in time. I've already said this. I think Bradbury should be cut, but now I'm taking an unless approach, and unless he's willing to take $10 million or less per year, I think that he deserves to be cut because we can't have that on our team. A guy who can't tackle, can't cover, the way the Eagles secondary looked in that final game and throughout the course of the season, he just could not be there as a starting cornerback right now. Now I'm just going to go over all of our free agents really, really quickly. Brandon Graham, if he retires, he retires. I mean, I'm not really sure if you really want to bring him back. You want to pay him over $10 million to keep him. He's playing good standards of a 35-year-old, but the Eagles need good standards of best in the NFL, because we want to compete for a championship. Fletcher Cox, he was the best defensive lineman in our final 8 games. I wouldn't be mad to bring him back on another 1-year deal. DeAndre Swift, I mean, I would say at least 3 years for him, unless we're going to get someone like Derrick Henry, which at this point doesn't seem like that's going to happen. But he played really, really well this season. I mean, I've mentioned him in the past, how much I really like DeAndre Swift, not just because he's from the role prep, but, I think he had a really, really good year. He was able to hit those holes, get yards after contact. He really fought for all extra yardage. When he was able to get in space, he was able to make guys miss. He did a really good job at that. I really think we should bring him back. Please do not bring back Quez Watkins. I can't take another year of that. Opeta, I don't think he's going to cost anything. We're probably going to need backup O-linemen because our offensive line is still getting pretty older with Lane Johnson and if Jason Kelce returns. Nicholas Morrow, I'm not a fan, and especially since I really want Jeremiah Trotter Jr. I would like to take him in the second round, so I feel like we don't need to bring back Morrow in that case. But if we don't get Jeremiah Trotter Jr., then maybe you can go bring him back. Cunningham, he was a good tackler. I feel like he just needs to work on his coverage. I wouldn't mind bringing him back at all. If you can't bring him back, then it is what it is. Roby, we're probably going to need him because Maddox is, not healthy all the time, but there is other good slot corners out there that are good role players. I feel like you can maybe get somebody like Roby. I just don't know who else is out there. If you want to bring him back, you can. If you don't, it's not a big deal. I would love to bring back Zacchaeus. Hopefully with a new offensive coordinator when we get rid of Brian Johnson, we would use him correctly. He was the best wide receiver blocker that we have. and he was a reason for some A.J. Brown touchdowns, Devontae Smith touchdowns, so on and so forth. I feel like we could really use him effectively if we could put him on the field. We always bring back Boston Scott, so he's going to be back one way or the other, whether he gets signed from the practice squad, then brought up to the team, and this, that, or the other. Mariota, I feel like there's no reason to bring him back because he didn't play well in preseason camp. He didn't play well in the preseason, and in the time he was in there in the regular season, he didn't play too well. Plus, Tanner McKee looked pretty good in the time that he was playing. I feel like we should put him in there. We'll see. Julio Jones, I mean, I wouldn't try to outbid teams if a few teams are going to look for him. Like, I wouldn't try to outbid them, especially since I want to take a wide receiver in the second or third round. But, if he wants to come back on a cheap deal, I wouldn't mind that at all. Jack Driscoll, I mean, we're going to need a backup O-lineman once again, so we're probably going to have to bring him back. He's not the greatest thing in the universe, but I think he made some improvements this season, so we'll see. Rashad Penny, I mean, I don't even see the point of bringing him back because of the fact that we didn't use him at all. He was on the injured list the entire time. I'm not sure what illness he had, if that's even true. I'm not trying to, if that was true, so if he had a problem with his illness, then we're not going to talk about that. We're not going to make any comments about his health. But if we're just keeping him on the injured list just so we can't suit him up, then I don't really see the point in bringing him back. The punter, man, I thought he did a decent job. I don't really think there's any reason not to bring him back. Apparently, he was like one of the only ones out there, like the first person out there at camp. So it's clear he's got some work ethic with him. So I wouldn't mind bringing him back. But yeah, we'll see what the Eagles do. The interviews have already happened. We've heard all that. Jalen Hurts didn't give a big endorsement to Sirianni, but other captains did. So we'll have to see if they hang on to him. They most likely will, because I feel like it would have happened by now, especially with the Cowboys saying that they're keeping Mike McCarthy for next season, and with talks ramping up with Bill Belichick and the Atlanta Falcons. So we will have to see what happens there. That'll do for this video, guys. Make sure you subscribe with your post notifications on. Go subscribe to my brother, Living Great Blogs. Make sure to subscribe to my second channel at Ryan the Kyle Great. Make sure you guys go follow me on X at Ryan the Great RTG. Make sure you guys go follow me on TikTok at Ryan the Great RTG. Make sure you guys go listen to the latest edition of the CR7 podcast. And make sure you guys go follow me on Twitch at Ryan the Great Podcast. And as always, Ryan the Great out. Peace.